The devastating truth, Jesus' speech at midnight that haunts humanity forever. It happened just when the clock struck 12. A chilling silence fell over the town, wrapping it like a dense fog. Beneath the glow of flickering street lamps a figure loomed in the shadows. The locals felt it before they saw it, a presence so unnatural, it made the hair on the back of their necks stand on end. Whispers slinked through the streets, crackling with fear. The story of a midnight gathering that promised to unravel the fabric of belief itself had spread like wildfire. People huddled together, hearts pounding, eyes wide with disbelief. They spoke of Jesus' return, not in dazzling light but in hushed tones at the witching hour, revealing truths that could change everything. In mere moments, the air thickened as if it held its breath, waiting for something monumental to unfold. Every heart in the crowd felt an anxious thrum, like a drumbeat of destiny. What was he going to say? Was this a warning, a message, or something more sinister? As the distant tolling of church bells echoed, the rumors morphed into something richer, more pressing. Ghostly tales swirled. He spoke of judgment, one old man murmured, his voice trembling. He could hardly breathe, recalling the words that dripped with foreboding. People leaned in, hanging on every syllable. He said the sky would darken and the truth would emerge from the depths. Eyes darted nervously. Were they ready for such revelations? The tension crackled like electric wires on the verge of snapping. What if this was happening right here, right now? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The crowd held its breath. As they gathered closer, the world faded around them. Their tight chests mirrored one another's, the lump in their throats a shared fear. In that very moment, the figure in the shadows stepped forward, just enough for the light to catch his eyes. They were piercing, shimmering, a tempest of emotion. For a split second, disbelief morphed into awe. He raised a hand, and the murmurs ceased. "Prepare yourselves," he echoed, voice steady yet overflowing with urgency. The weight of those words hung in the air. A love that felt like betrayal mixed with hope rippled through the crowd, electrifying their mood. What truths lay hidden in the darkness? With hearts racing and anticipation wrapping tightly around them, everyone wondered, could they truly handle the truth that Jesus was about to unveil? As he paused, silence enveloped the crowd like a shroud. The faint sound of a heartbeat echoed in the background. The midnight hour was charged not just with fear but with possibilities. What was coming next? Would these words lift them or bury them under the weight of undiscovered terror? The answer loomed just out of reach. The figure finally took a full step into the light, revealing a face both familiar and unsettling. It was Jesus, but not as they had imagined him. His eyes glowed with a strange intensity, reflecting the flickering lights around him like two small stars in a dark sky. The crowd gasped, a collective intake of breath that echoed into the night air. "Again, I say to you," his voice resonated deep, each syllable saturated with emotion, "the time for truth has arrived." He paused. The tension expanded like a balloon, ready to pop. A woman in the front row began to tremble, clutching her child tightly against her chest. "What truth?" someone finally shouted, breaking the spell of silence. Jesus smiled gently, yet it didn't reach his eyes. He lifted his hand, palm outward, as if reminding the crowd of the fire they were about to walk into. "The truth you have buried beneath your fears," he replied. A chill skated down the spines of those present. "Fear of what?" another voice called, this one edged with defensiveness. "The truth of yourselves," he said, each word weighted with the burden of generations. "You hide behind your facades, your beliefs twisted by fear and desire. But hear me, judgment is upon you, and the revelations are not as you think. His gaze pierced through the crowd. Eyes widened in shock. Some stepped back involuntarily, unable to hold his gaze. The murmurs grew again, but this time they were frantic. Like the wind whipping through the streets, the anxiety swirled fiercely, sending waves through the assembly. What do you mean? A man yelled from the back, his voice wavering. Are we not good enough? Do you come to punish us? No, Jesus replied, shaking his head. To enlighten. To make you accountable. It's the price of truth. As he spoke, the sky above darkened ominously, clouds swirling as if orchestrated by an unseen hand. The crowd gasped. Lightning cracked across the heavens, illuminating the figure of Jesus standing there unflinching, almost ethereal. Prepare, he commanded. The world has been clouded by lies, and the truth you fear will soon be your only salvation. Everyone felt it then, the sensation of impending doom creeping closer, a ghostly specter lurking just at the edge of reality. A woman shouted, her voice trembling. But what if the truth is more than we can bear? What if we can't handle it? Jesus looked her way, a sadness overlaying his fierce determination. That is the choice before you. Embrace the truth, or let it consume you. A ripple of unease passed through the crowd as the weight of his words settled heavily. As if answering an unsaid question, a swirling wind rose around them, a cacophony of voices rising in a collective crescendo, cries of hope, despair, and confusion intertwined into a sinister symphony of fear. The air crackled, pulsing with energy. Now, look around. He pointed to the darkening sky. Faces blind to their open wounds. The reckoning is here. The crowd began to murmur restlessly. Distrust and curiosity tangled tightly within them. What was he asking them to confront? Would this lead them to salvation or spell their doom? As the midnight hour stretched out, the ground shook beneath their feet, and suddenly, the earth itself appeared to split open, light pouring forth from the cracks, casting shadows of dread across those who dared to stare. What is happening? A young man shouted, fear etching his features deeply. Jesus stood firm, the resolute center in a maelstrom, urging them forward. Step into the light. But could they? Would they dare to face what lay just beyond their understanding? As darkness threatened to swallow the last flickers of hope, one question loomed louder than the rest: could they really confront the horrors hidden within their own souls? And with that, the ground trembled once more, sending shivers through the crowd as they hesitated, standing on the precipice of revelation. What awaited them on the other side of their fears? A deafening crack tore through the night as the earth continued to tremble, sending shockwaves of terror through the crowd. They stood frozen, eyes wide as the ground gaped before them like a hungry beast. A pit of light emerged, pulsating, radiating an unsettling warmth that felt both inviting and threatening. Do not fear the light. Jesus called, his voice a beacon cutting through their chaos. But deep down, many felt an instinctive pull to turn away, to flee into the darkness where uncertainty lay shrouded in safety. The young man's voice quivered, breaking through the confusion. What's on the other side? What if it's worse? His hands clenched at his sides, frustration battling fear as he scanned the faces around him. A murmur ran through the crowd, whispers of doubt and disbelief danced among them like shadows. Is this some kind of trick? Someone shouted. Why should we trust him? Jesus remained undaunted, his eyes bright with purpose. The truth isn't a trick, it is your salvation. The darkness you fear holds no power over those who embrace their truth. Another tremor jolted the ground. People stumbled, their resolve waning. One woman, her face streaked with tears, shouted, what if we don't want to see ourselves? What if we can't? When has hiding ever healed? Jesus countered, voice rising. Each of you carries a light within, a truth waiting to ignite. Suddenly, from the fissures of light, strange shapes began to emerge. Spectral images flickered within the brightness, familiar faces, lost moments, haunting memories unraveling before their eyes. The crowd gasped collectively, realization dawning like a cold dawn. Those are our mistakes. Someone cried out, pointing at the shadows writhing in the light. Our regrets. Jesus stepped closer to the edge of the crack. Yes, all that you cling to, the rage, the guilt, the shame faces from your past. They are part of you, and yet they are not the whole. His voice resonated, sharp and crisp through the encroaching darkness. Yes. Embrace them. He urged, gaze sweeping over the trembling crowd. The pain is a part of the journey, but do not let it define you. Step into the light. Lightning struck again, illuminating the truth of their fears. Some stepped back, terror painting their features, while a few brave souls edged forward, drawn like moths to an urgent flame. But then, a chilling realization chilled the air. The light pulsating from the cracks whispered of possibilities, a force so alluring yet terrifying. Was it hope, or was it destruction? A man turned to a friend, confusion clouding his eyes. What if the truth is worse than we could ever imagine? What if this is the end? Then we face it together, the friend replied, a spark flickering in his voice. Isn't that what he is asking us to do? The air thickened with tension, a benevolent energy conflicting with sharp fear. Jesus stretched out his arms, urging them closer to the light. Do not forget. You are stronger than your darkest memories. Together, you can rise. The ground shook, and the shadows grew thicker, swirling like a tempest in the depths of their minds. The murmur of hope struggled against the tide of anxiety. Would they take that leap into the unknown? Would they risk it all for the sake of truth? The sky crackled again, a foreboding echo bouncing through the night. The fissure widened, the light brightening, ready to swallow those who dared to step forward. As the first brave soul gingerly placed a foot into the light, and the crowd held its breath, one question echoed louder than ever: was this embrace the beginning of their redemption, or the harbinger of their undoing? And with that, the air crackled with anticipation, as the truth loomed on the horizon, unseen, yet unmistakably close. What would they discover about themselves, once they crossed the threshold? As the first foot broke the plane of glowing light, time stilled. The crowd held its breath, hearts thudded like war drums in their chests, mingling with the fear swirling in the air. The figure about to step into the unknown hesitated, the warmth of the light coiling around him, urging him forward. Please, a voice dripped with urgency, don't do it. It came from a woman at the edge, her eyes wide and brimming with tears, her face contorted in desperate disbelief. We don't know what's really on the other side. But the young man stepped in anyway. The moment his foot touched the radiant ground, the air around him seemed to shimmer violently. His body was engulfed in brilliant illumination, and a piercing scream tore from his lips, not of pain, but of horror. The crowd gasped, recoiling as a deafening roar erupted from the depths of the fissure. Release him! Someone shrieked. Others wavered, their thoughts spiraling from curiosity to dread. The ground convulsed beneath them, shadows flickering, whispering, "What have you done?" In a chilling moment, the light poured out like a tidal wave. Spectral images shot out, twisted reflections of the crowd, snippets of their lives, raw memories seeping through the rift like smoke. Lovers lost, children forgotten, dreams abandoned. Faces twisted in anguish surged forth, merging to form a kaleidoscope of regrets and desires, dancing before their eyes. What is this? A man shouted, trembling as he covered his ears, trying to block out the sounds of sorrow surrounding him. It's a trap. No. Jesus roared, his voice cutting like a knife through the chaos. Look closely. It's all part of the truth. Truth. A voice shouted back, laced with fury. This is madness. We didn't ask for any of this. The light became a whirl of emotions. Joy shattered into an agonizing realization that colored their fears with vibrant sorrow. Memories of laughter turned bitter. Each soul quaked, remembering moments they'd chosen to forget, laid bare under the unforgiving lamp of illumination. It was their denials manifesting in shades of despair. Can't you see? Jesus pressed on, determination radiating from him. This isn't punishment, it's revelation. You have to feel to heal. But as fear clawed its way through hearts, a shadow erupted from the depths beyond the light. It morphed into a monstrous visage, lurking just within view but always elusive. Whispers grew louder, a cacophony of their worst fears, dragging them back under the weight of their insecurities. Run! Someone yelled, panic splintering through the ranks as people began to back away, scrambling blindly toward safety. Get out of here! But those who retreated only deepened their plight, shoving past one another in a rush that only amplified confusion. Together! Jesus cried, desperation igniting in his voice. Don't let the fear win. Remember, you're more than your past. Embrace it. Lightning cracked again, but this time it felt like a warning. It illuminated the background, revealing the monstrous shape of dread, looming larger as people hesitated. What if we can't embrace it? A woman sobbed, clutching her child tightly. What if it destroys us? The ground trembled ominously as if echoing her fear. For a moment, silence hung heavy, each person caught in the balance between retreat and revelation. Through their turmoil, one man stepped forward. His features etched with determination, he reached for another. We can't let fear dictate our destinies. We're in this together. A ripple of uncertainty shifted through the crowd, cracking their veneer of panic. But just as the flicker of hope ignited, the shadow surged forward, seemingly hungry for their despair. What comes next? The crowd yelled collectively, their voices churned with terror as the fissure glowed brighter and brighter. Just then, a force exploded from the heart of the light, an electrifying surge that sent the shadows screaming away. And in that heartbeat, as they gasped in shock, the ultimate question curled around them: would they stand united against the dark or unknowingly spiral into it? The gnawing uncertainty rushed over them, permeating their thoughts, as they grasped for answers. Would they find the courage to engage with their truths in some impending reckoning, or would they fall deeper into the void? Panic gripped the crowd like a vice. Some stumbled backward, breathless, while others clutched their loved ones, unwilling to let go. The air crackled with tension, the fissure's light now pulsating, rhythmic like a heartbeat. Listen! Jesus shouted, urgency cracking his voice. Every one of you carries a piece of this truth. Don't let the fear crush you. Embrace it. His words reverberated, and against the chaos, a flicker of resolve ignited within a few hearts. The swirling shadows thrashed, screeching as if wounded. They surged closer, hungry to claim each soul's lingering doubts, to pull them into the depths of despair. But one by one, faces turned toward Jesus, drawing strength from his unwavering spirit. What if it shatters us? A young man called out, his voice trembling. What if accepting our pain drives us mad? We stand on the edge of our greatest challenge. Jesus declared, his gaze piercing through the darkness. It's in the depths of despair that we find our power. Pain can transform, but only if we refuse to hide. The word struck a chord. As if harmonizing with an ancient melody, some began to step forward, eyes widening in understanding. The fear wrapped around them like suffocating vines, but they fought to loosen the grip. The light enveloped those who advanced, flickering warmly in response. But the shadows, furious at this defiance, let out a deafening roar. Don't turn back! Someone yelled from the rear, frantically waving. You don't know what lurks inside that light. But as the brave souls pressed on, a surge of energy pulsed from the fissure, illuminating hidden cracks in their hearts. Memories spilled forth, some joyous, others heartbreaking, a symphony of human experience. Laughter mingled with anguish, a reminder of cherished moments wrapped in the fabric of their pasts. Then, as if rebounding from an unseen force, the light surged outward, ripping the shadows apart. A bright ribbon of hope twisted through despair, wrapping around those who dared to face their fears. Join me! Jesus cried, hands stretched wide. Don't let doubt drown you. We are stronger together. Each step forward beckons others. In that moment, as the light expanded, silhouettes emerged from the fisher figures they'd lost over the years, loved ones standing at the threshold of their memories. Joy erupted at the sight of familiar faces, pulling the crowd in every direction. Is it really them? A woman whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. Can we reach them? That depends on you. Jesus responded, his energy surging. You must let go of fear and allow love to guide you instead. Only then can you bridge the chasm between what is lost and what can be saved. With an almost magnetic pull, people began to reach toward the figures, hands stretching out into the radiant light. Suddenly, the shadows recoiled. Their howls intertwined with the cries of the lost, spiraling into a chaotic tempest. The fisher quaked, threatening to close on itself as the shadows fought, desperate to hold their ground against the encroaching light. This is it. Jesus warned as the ground beneath them heaved. We have to stand firm. Trust in each other. Trust in yourselves. But just as the first soul reached the edge, dangling between despair and hope, the ground split open beneath them. Gasps filled the air as the fissure widened, swallowing light and shadow, truths and fears alike. Where do we go now? A voice echoed in horror, voices rising in collective dismay. I and the swirling tempest, the remnants of shadows writhe, clawing hungrily at the sparks of light. Would the crowd lose themselves to darkness? Or could they rally together, bound by hope, and step into the unknown? In that fleeting moment, as the abyss yawned wider and the figures beckoned them closer, the question hung heavily in the air: what awaited them on the other side of their fears, and would they dare to find out? The ground shook violently, and the darkness felt alive, thrumming with anger. The fissure yawned open like an anxious mouth, threatening to swallow everything in its path. Faces turned pale as more screams pierced through the chaos, echoing their fears. Each person felt as if their heart might burst, the weight of collective panic forcing trembling bodies back, but amidst the fear, Jesus stood resolute. We must face this. You are not alone. His voice cut through the commotion like a blade. With an intensity that ignited courage, he reached out, pulling them closer to him. Now hold the light within you. It knows the way. One by one, a few gathered what remained of their strength. They stepped forward, battling the tumult that sought to drag them back. It was as if the shadows themselves were screaming, a cacophony of despair whipping like autumn leaves around them. Those brave enough to advance felt the gravitational pull of the light. It warmed their skin, a stark contrast to the freezing abyss lurking at their feet. Who will join us? A woman cried out, her eyes shimmering. Can we trust the light? Amidst the turmoil, murmurs rippled through the crowd. Voices echoed their doubts, dripping with uncertainty. Light can deceive. Someone shouted, trembling. What if it leads us to more darkness? But Jesus, his expression unwavering, stepped closer to the fissure. No. Once you know love, once you've felt its warmth, the darkness loses its power. Our greatest fear is the unknown, but it also holds our greatest potential. He pointed toward the figures in the light. Look. They wait for us. They're not lost. They've found their way here. They want us to join them. The shadows wailed louder, thrashing furiously, as if sensing the shift in momentum. A man, emboldened by Jesus's conviction, stepped forward, reaching toward the radiant silhouettes. He faltered for just a heartbeat, doubt clawing at him. But once he took that first step, a collective shimmer of courage surged through the crowd. Suddenly, a blinding pulse radiated from the fissure, and the ground trembled violently. A figure, a loved one long thought lost, emerged from the light, stretching a hand out to the man. His heart raced. Hope sparked in his chest, pushing out the darkness. Would this be his moment to reclaim the happiness he thought vanished forever? Yes. He shouted, the word tearing from his throat with sheer force. I choose to believe. He lunged forward, grasping the hand reaching for him. As he crossed the threshold, crossing from despair to hope, the shadows erupted in a fury. They lashed out, curling around the edges of the fissure like angry serpents seeking their prey. The moment felt electric, a thrilling rush coursed through the crowd, as fear slashed at them from behind while hope beckoned from ahead, but then, with a deafening crack, the shadows contorted, forming a massive vortex that threatened to consume everything. The ground heaved again, and the fissure widened, a churning maw of chaos. "Hold on!" Jesus cried. "Don't break. Trust one another." The urgency in his voice fanned the flames of resolve among them. They had to fight together. But as they clung to the light and to each other, it was clear, something essential was about to change. The shadows began to shift, revealing unknown horrors hidden beneath their chaotic exterior. Faces twisted in anguish emerged from the darkness, proving that even within pain, something monstrous could lurk. With bated breath, the crowd braced themselves for what would come next. What truth lay buried within the shadows, and would they uncover the very thing that could either save or destroy them all? As the dark figures drew nearer, a fresh wave of dread washed over the crowd. Was this the moment they had so desperately fought to reach? Or was the darkness ready to reclaim its own? The shadows twisted like snakes, their forms writhing in agony. An unholy wind roared through the crowd, chilling them to the bone. People huddled closer together, their hearts pounding in sync, their breaths shallow. Eyes wide with terror, they watched as the darkness coiled and expanded, unfurling like a dark bloom ready to devour everything it touched, but still, Jesus stood tall. The glow around him pulsed, steady yet insistent, a beacon against the chaos. "Don't look away," he urged, and his voice carried strength, a promise they could cling to. "You must face what is hidden. This darkness holds not just fear, but truth." A murmur swept through the crowd. They could feel it, the air thickened with a palpable dread. What did he mean? What truth awaited beneath the shadows of despair? Confusion spread like wildfire, igniting apprehension among them. As the first twisted figure advanced, its visage became clearer. A man, hollow-eyed and gaunt, stumbled forth. He was once a pillar of strength, now lost in torment. The crowd shivered with recognition. "Michael," a woman called out, struggling against the tide of shadows. "Is that you?" His voice emerged, raw and trembling. I was taken by the darkness. But I have come back to tell you." He pointed at the shadows, his eyes reflecting the flickering light. "This is a reflection of your greatest fears. The pain you haven't faced, it wants to consume you." The crowd gasped collectively. The shadows around them twisted, writhing as if they understood. Each figure emerged from their fear, bringing memories flooded with regret or guilt. One by one, painful faces appeared, friends lost through betrayal, parents abandoned in sorrow, young lives cut short by misunderstanding. Each visage carried not just the weight of individual suffering but a collective sorrow, echoing the fragile state of humanity. Trembling, the whispers grew louder. "What does this mean?" someone asked, voice cracking. "Can we confront these memories? Can we confront ourselves?" "Yes," Jesus shouted, igniting a flare of hope within them. "To move forward, you must confront your past. Each shadow is an opportunity. Embrace the truth that the darkness will not let go of." Suddenly, the ground splintered, and the shadows surged violently, pulling at their very essence. Faces twisted in anguish loomed closer, their cries becoming a piercing wail that split the air. "Look away, and you will perish," Jesus yelled. With desperation clawing at their throats, individuals stepped forward. A middle-aged woman, tears streaming down her face, grasped the hand of a shadowy figure, her long-departed son. "I'm sorry, sweetheart. I should have stood by you." The moment hung in the air, thick with bittersweet emotion, swelling with the release of buried pain, yet with each step taken toward confrontation, the shadows lashed out, more determined to reclaim their prey. Jesus grounded them, proclaiming, "Trust, you have the power. Freedom lies in facing what you fear the most." But as they fought to push past the tumult, an ominous twist occurred. The shadows pulsed, growing hungry and ferocious, morphing into something even darker. A colossal figure, its eyes two smoldering orbs of despair, cast a looming presence over them. "You cannot escape," it echoed. "You think you can conquer your darkness? You will only be consumed." Fear gripped the crowd as Jesus shouted, "Hold on to each other. The strength of our hearts is more powerful than any shadow." But amidst the desperate grasp of his words, doubt crept back in what if they didn't have enough strength? What if this was a battle already lost? As the vortex of shadows spiraled ever wider, something deep within shifted. A new realization descended like a thick fog. Did they even want to confront what lay beyond, or was it easier to stay imprisoned in their fears? With the monstrous figure advancing, looming practically over them, the tension escalated, and hope wavered at the precipice of despair. Could they break the cycle, and if they dared to confront it, what new horrors could they unearth? The night stretched thin, leaving them on the edge of decision, while the shadows threatened to snuff out the light. Was the ultimate truth they sought worth the price of facing their pain? The colossal figure loomed larger, its presence suffocating. Shadows clasped around its form like hungry tendrils, their whispers filling the air with an endless chorus of despair. The crowd quaked, hearts thundering. Jesus stood firm, a solitary flame in an approaching storm, legs seemingly rooted in the trembling earth. "Stay together," Jesus shouted, his voice resonating like a drumbeat against fear. "In the face of chaos, unity is our strongest weapon." He gestured to the faces of pain that hovered, threatening to consume the resolve that had begun to swell. "Your fears are valid, but they do not define you. Step into the light." One by one, others began to move. One brave man, trembling from head to toe, clasped the hand of his long-lost brother, a darkness that had long haunted him. "I miss you. I didn't believe you were gone," he cried, his words a shaky bridge over an abyss of regret. The shadow flickered, almost hesitant. The monstrous figure above them shrieked, its flaming eyes narrowing. "You think these flickers of light can defeat the void? You are naive." The crowd felt the weight of its words, shadows pushing against them like an unseen tide. Doubt seeped into their hearts like a fog, each individual's internal struggles flaring up, questions of worth, fear of losing, fear of being lost again. Their breathing quickened, and a rush of uncertainty swept through. Would they be strong enough? Would they truly face the horrors within? Jesus raised his chin defiantly, meeting the fear head-on. "Every shadow you witness is a piece of yourself. Embrace them, or be devoured." Suddenly, a young woman stepped forward, her face streaked with tears, lighting up the dimness that threatened to suffocate them all. "I've held on to my pain for too long," she choked out, her voice steadying as she locked eyes with her shadow, a figure that rocked back and forth with deep sorrow. "I'm ready to face you now. I forgive you." As those words echoed through the night, a crack rippled across the dark surface of the shadows. The colossal figure wailed a heart-wrenching, bone-chilling sound that cut through them like ice. "No!" it roared, as more souls stepped forward, whispering secrets long buried beneath the weight of regret. "You cannot just absolve yourselves." Jesus raised his arms, a protector against the encroaching darkness. "The truth is liberation. Speak, and your fears lose their grip." Another voice surged forth, a man, shaking but resolute. "I could have saved you. I was weak, but I won't be weak anymore." He reached out, taking hold of the shadow of his old mentor. The darkness writhed, contorting as if caught in a storm, and the air crackled with energy. The crowd grew emboldened. Each confrontation birthed sparks of hope, illuminating bits of joy amidst their sorrow. The tangled shadows began to spill into more chaotic forms, twisting and shifting violently, as if struggling against an unseen force. Yet the menacing figure wasn't finished. With a booming voice, it hollered, "This freedom you seek is nothing but an illusion. Pain binds you more than you can ever break." Just as despair threatened to snap their resolve, Jesus pushed forward, declaring, "You are not alone. Stand together." For a moment, the overwhelming shadows hesitated. Then, as if accepting the challenge for the first time, they surged forward in one final wave, hungry, furious, relentless. In that instant, hearts raced, fears mounted, and hands were raised tightly together. Faces twisted with emotion, raw and exposed. Who would break first? But as the shadows closed in like a dark vice, a haunting question reverberated through their minds: would their courage withstand the ultimate truth, or would it drown in despair? The night pulsed with severity, every soul teetering on the edge, hearts pounding in unison. What horror, what enlightenment awaited them if they dared to break through? As the shadows tightened around them, the air vibrated with a new dread. Were they ready to learn the devastating truth? The shadows lunged, greedy and insatiable, wrapping themselves around the crowd, sinking fingers into skin and soul. Gasps filled the night like a wounded choir, each breath echoing a plea for salvation. Jesus stood amidst the growing tempest, unwavering, radiating light that flickered against the encroaching darkness. "Hold on," he yelled, his voice a beacon. "This is your moment." But were they truly ready? The once united group now felt fractured, a string of wavering souls battling their own internal chaos. The colossal figure towered above, contempt rippling off it like a tide. "Face it. You are tied to your sorrow." It shrieked, a ghastly blend of laughter and pain that sent shivers racing down spines. Cries erupted from the crowd. "I'm not enough." A woman screamed, eyes wide, trembling as her shadow loomed with insatiable hunger, a twisted doppelganger of her self-doubt. "Yes. You are." Jesus' words pierced the storm. "Those shadows are merely fragments of your past. They don't have power unless you let them." But as he spoke, more specters emerged from the depths of hopelessness, faces reminiscent of lost connections, fathers, mothers, friends, filling the air with a cacophony of regret. The cries merged into a devastating symphony, amplifying the tension, heightening the stakes. A voice broke through the chorus, a girl, no older than 12, trembling on the outskirts of the throng. "I'm scared. What if I can't do it?" Her expression mirrored the turmoil unfolding around her, eyes glistening with tears that begged for release. "Courage does not come from the absence of fear," Jesus replied, his tone firm yet tender. "It grows in the space between it and your decision to move forward." The young girl's shadow danced hesitantly at her feet, but then, slowly, she stepped into the crowd's embrace. One by one, others began to do the same. Men, women, and children blended into a swirling energy of commitment. The Leviathan of darkness recoiled, furious and shrieking as individual voices merged, forming a mighty roar that waged war against despair. Yet, doubt clung to the crowd, persistent as weeds in a garden. A man, gaunt and gray, began to tremble. "What if we fail?" "Failure is not final," Jesus shot back, stepping closer, illuminating their fears as if shedding light on a battlefield. "It is the courage to begin again that holds the ultimate power." With that, the crowd felt a surge of strength, an intoxicating blend of hope and defiance. The shadow shuddered, recoiling in fury. "You cannot hope your way out of this. I will rip apart your dreams." As it spoke, the darkness bulged and writhed, forming grotesque shapes of the crowd's hidden fears. Memories of betrayal, loss, and pain flickered in the gloom. "We are being tested," a woman cried, clutching her chest as if the weight of her burdens threatened to crush her, but then, impossibly, another voice rang out, "We will rise." It was the brother, hands still clasped with his long-lost sibling. Other voices multiplied, each one igniting like matchsticks, illuminating the shadows. "We will face the truth." The colossal figure paused, momentarily daunted by their unity. It was a flicker of an opening, a crack that seemed just big enough to slip through, but the question remained: could they break the bonds of despair? Or would they forever be caught in the jaws of their fight? As the remaining shadows closed in, the crowd found themselves at a precipice, their collective breath a single, trembling heartbeat. Would they plunge into the depths of horror to unearth the truth, or would they shrink away, retreating back into silence, forever haunted by what might have been? The eyes of the colossal figure flared, riveted on Jesus, daring him to falter. And in that moment, an unshakable conflict loomed, echoing in the air: thick with suspense. What ultimate price awaited those who dared to face their truths? As the shadows reached for them, the night held its breath waiting, aching, desperate for resolution. The ground quaked again, thunder roaring overhead as the colossal figure loomed ominously. The darkness writhed. Fear surged within the crowd as they faced their looming demons. But, amidst the chaos, Jesus remained unwavering, his light pushing back against the torment. Together, he shouted, voice echoing through the tempest. You are more than your fears. Remember the love that brought you here. Let it guide you. One by one, they recognized the faces intertwined with their pain, their loved ones, their wishes, their regrets. Those shadows weren't just hauntings, they were pieces of their very souls, begging for acknowledgement, urging them toward the light. I see you, shouted the young woman who had taken the brave first steps. I won't let you control me anymore. I forgive you. Her words acted like a beacon. A wave of emotion crashed over the crowd, each heart igniting with the warmth of recognition. There was no escaping the bonds of their pasts, but they could choose to embrace them. As she reached out to the flickering forms, the shadows trembled, morphing not into monstrous shapes, but into wisps of story, full of lessons learned, battles fought, love shared. The earth itself responded to this transformation, quaking with a different kind of power, a unity that was more than just survival. She's right, another voice cried out, breaking through the fog of despair. We have fought hard. We deserve to heal. Inspired, others stepped forward, now emboldened. The atmosphere shifted, each declaration illuminating the way like a flickering firefly in the darkened night. With every bold step forward, more shadows began to withdraw, pulling back from the radiant warmth of collective resolve. They recoiled, morphing into memories of acceptance and growth, weaving in and out like a haunting melody. Let go of the past, Jesus urged more insistently. Life awaits on the other side of your fears. The shadows hissed as if losing their grip, swirling into a vortex. The colossal figure wailed, thrashing in rage. But it was met with a wave of bravery, the sheer force of humanity refusing to relinquish hope. People lost in darkness found each other, grasping hands tighter and tighter, forming an unbreakable chain. A sense of urgency flickered. Would their connection be enough? The once overwhelming figure of despair shrieked louder, revealing sadness that shook the heavens. The truth began to draw closer, raw and honest. It wrapped around them, echoing like a heartbeat. Face it. Jesus commanded. Empower yourselves with truth. Address every regret. Confront every pain. Do not flinch. Finally, out of the chaos, a mighty roar arose. The crowd joined together, voices merging into a thunderous symphony of defiance against the darkness. We will not back down. This is our moment. Lightning crashed, illuminating their faces, fierce and alive. Their shadows flickered behind them, growing paler, less threatening. Each voice, bold, raw, resonated with conviction. They felt their hearts thumping in synchronicity, unified against despair. The shadows shrieked and writhed, impossibly chaotic, but one woman's voice rang out above the rest. We were meant to rise. Together. At that, the crowd surged forward, each person inspired by the inklings of strength forged in vulnerability. With a final brilliant flash, the colossal figure dissolved into a cascade of light. An explosion of clarity washed over the ground beneath them. The fissure healed. Every reminder of hurt faded, reborn as powerful sparks of potential. As the air shimmered, it no longer held the weight of chaos but was filled with warm possibilities. They stood amidst an ethereal glow, thumping hearts, a rhythm of resilience. Jesus smiled, an image of peace washing over him. Look. You did it. You embraced your shadows, faced your fears, and transformed them into wisdom. You have crossed into a new dawn. Learn from your truth. Celebrate it. One more resonant voice called back, choked with emotion. This is just the beginning, isn't it? We have so much work ahead. It was followed by nods, the crowd embracing the new awareness together. It is indeed, Jesus replied, eyes sparkling. The truth will always be a guiding star, but you alone decide how to wield its light. Together, always together. As people tightened their grips, a hushed calm descended. They were alive, vibrant together in the glow of a new, hopeful dawn. The past would always echo, but they finally understood the truth didn't have to imprison them. It could set them free, and so, bathed in warmth, the townsfolk began to disperse, exchanging cautious smiles laced with joy and understanding. They had walked through darkness, but it had only brought them closer to the light. Remember this moment. But before you leave, don't forget to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to show your support for the journey ahead.